Just like the street lights lit this town, like a fire in a blaze, gotta burn it down. Can't be afraid to leave this out. We got this far, don't know how. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we gonna let it away tonight. We gonna let it away tonight. We gonna let it just like the sunrise. We gonna let it out. Just like a spark that's breaking out. Can't make a stop, can't turn back now. We know that there's no room for doubt. No, we can't turn back now. I see danger in your eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we gonna let it away tonight. We gonna let it away tonight. We gonna let it just like the sunrise. We gonna let it out.
Sorry about that. I was here a little bit before the music was over. I could have put some chapstick on while I was waiting. Dang me. That's what I should have been doing. Sorry about that. Welcome into tonight's live, everybody. Welcome in, welcome in, welcome in. Hopefully you guys are having a great, what is it? Tuesday? Wednesday? Wednesday. I know what day it is. I know. I didn't. I couldn't tell you a minute ago. My days have been running together, I feel like. But welcome in, everybody. It's good to see you guys. We got full, chat coming in. That's always good. Welcome in, everyone. If you guys missed our live from earlier today, we did do a live over Kata Scott and her case. So I'll give you a little update on that in just a moment as well. So if you missed it, that's okay. You could always go back and check it out again. So I don't know why the background music put me up to that, but okay. But I do see we have a lot of people in here, so I won't go through all the names, but I do see everyone. And I think we have all three of our mods in here tonight. I saw Baby Girl was in here earlier in the live when I was sneaking in the back side. So hola to you all. If you guys wouldn't mind, take a second. I'm not with it today. If you guys wouldn't mind, take a second, hit the like button for me. That does the channel wonders. So if you guys wouldn't mind doing that for me, that'd be great. Every like counts. It gets us into the algorithm. The faster we do it, the faster we can get out to the algorithm. If you enjoy the channel while you guys are watching tonight and you decide, hey, I want to be a member of that channel, we'd love to have you. So you chased her around and finally caught her. I'll put the link in the chat to the channel membership, and I'm also going to pin it at the top of the, I think I just deleted it. I did. I deleted my own message. So I'm going to paste it in here again, not to be that person, but Thanks, Mary Beth, for putting my Patreon in there. I really appreciate that so much. Thank you. And we do have a Patreon. So I just uploaded the last 3 episodes. Well, it was just a 3-docuseries, 3-part docuseries on Ellen Greenberg. So if you guys like that case and you guys enjoy it, or you enjoy that case and you enjoy, the content behind it, that's a really good docuseries to check out. Also, all the Idaho documentaries, docuseries, either one, they are over there. I think we have like the last 2 or 3. And then I know that there's some old ones. I could always put those over there if you guys want me to as well. So tonight we're going to talk about Brian Koberger and the Idaho 4 case. But before we get into that, I wanted to just welcome you guys in, let you know I am Titanium Bill, or Tanya if you are new to the channel and you're like, who's this woman that is talking to me right now? And thank you for joining me tonight. If you are not new to the channel, welcome back, you savages. Thank you for coming in and joining me for a live. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you so much. So before we do get started, I just wanted to let you guys know that we're following a case, and it's a disappearance. And it's a disappearance. Her name is Kata Scott. Did I say Smith? I swear I want to say Smith, and every time I've said that twice now on a live. Like, did I say Smith? If I said it, I'm so sorry. Kata Scott. I don't know why I want to call her Smith. I do not know. But they found the car that they were from this. Okay, so this afternoon's presser, we heard that they had a suspect in custody. Well, a suspect for her kidnapping. They are still under the assumption that she's alive. But they did find the car that they were looking for. So they were looking for a beat up, like 1999 Camry, Toyota Camry. Well, they found it. And a bunch of, people, like news cameras are everywhere on the scene. The windows, the cops said that the windows are tinted. They're too tinted to really see through to see if, so they're going to tow it. I think that might be an excuse for them to, and it's a good excuse, just so that they could keep everything, like if she is in there, the crime scene intact, it's probably best to go ahead and just tow it back just to be on the safe side. And then that way, if you do find a body in the car, you don't have 50 reporters already right in front of you, right? Like taking pictures. So that's what I think. But I also think that with them finding the car, I did see the dog going around the car a little bit. Like it was with his handler, but he wasn't like walking it around the car. He was like walking it towards the side of it, but he wasn't like doing it with the intention of like, this dog's smelling this car right now. Like it was just like he was walking over to the other officers. So maybe his dog wasn't aware, like, or alert, or maybe that's not even a cadaver dog. I don't know, but it did smell a little bit around the trunk area, but not like a lot. Wasn't like alerting. It didn't jump up, nothing like that. So I think that she might not be in there. I'm praying that she's not in there. But welcome in everybody again. Hey, Machachi, how you been? The world has gone mad. Hey, Aries. Always trust the dog. Yeah, always. And if you're Koberger, he says, "How's my dog doing?" That's how they are, though. Wait, actually, there's a picture right here. Let me show you this picture really quick. Oh, of course, it's going to be small. Okay, and I don't want to have to open my laptop, but we will if we need to. Oh, it's because it's the beginning. Okay. I'm going to try to just open it a little bit and see if I can like slide my hand and just, I can. I'm just trying to blow this up and it's just moving around a little bit. Okay, there we go. So I don't know what this means. I mean, I don't know if this means the dog is hidden or not, but see how he had the dog. See, when I saw it, he was beside the car. He wasn't back behind the car. So I don't know. But those are some dark windows. I will say that. Pretty sure that's illegal, right? I mean, here in the great state of Ohio, they would pull you over before you pulled out of anywhere in that car. You'd be backing out of your driveway at home and they'd be like, not today. Not today, not any day. So BK does have a black soul. Goes with this guy's black tinted windows. Majichi, thank you so much. I appreciate that because I'm exhausted tonight. It's just because you know me, I've been running around the last few days like a person that's got things to do. But thank you. I appreciate that so much. So yeah, he's behind the car. I don't know. This is the guy that they arrested, Keenan King. I've been looking for the arrest affidavit all night. It hasn't come out yet. I will have to put in, if I'd have to put in a FOIA, we will. If I don't see it by, tomorrow morning or afternoon, I'll put the FOIA in because I want to know I want to know what they arrested him on. I mean, I know what they arrested him on. Sorry, kidnapping, but I want to know why they arrested him for that. Like what led them to him. You know what I mean? If they'll let us have that, they might not let us have it. They might just let him sit in there for a few days, see if he talks. But okay, so now we'll talk about Brian Koberger. I just wanted to let you guys know that. So that doesn't meet code, Laura. I remember how many times were we not arrested? I never arrested, pulled over. We were always riding with someone. It was me and my bestest friend in the whole wide world, but we would be listening to some like 3-6 Mafia, being in the back of the Cadillac, no business being there. But the windows would be like so tinted, or it'd be like our friends, like they drove like, remember those old like Mitsubishi Eclipse? I remember one of our friend had one of those. He would not lighten the tint. So every time we went out, we got pulled over. And they would say, what percentage is that tint? No. I mean, I wouldn't have known. They asked me that, I would have been like, I don't know. I'm glad they do. But it was always too dark. But that was really dark. So perhaps it's probably a law there. And I would say he's probably breaking it. I mean, I would say, thanks, Reba. It is my birthday week. I've been doing a countdown. I'm going to do like a little video at the end. It's because I'm just, that awesome. Okay, so basically, we have a couple things that's come out for Brian Koberger. There's been a few things that have been said, but Ashley Banfield did an interview with Steve and Olivia Gonzalez. And in the interview, she kind of touches on everything that's kind of come out recently pertaining to Brian Koberger. So we were going to go over that tonight. And then also, there's a new podcast on the Idaho Massacre podcast that we've been listening to ever since this case first started. I wonder how many episodes there are right now. Because we're on like episode 9 of season, I think this is like 3 or whatever you want to call it. I think it's seasons. I don't know what you call it, but that's a lot. So yeah, we have the whole playlist if you want to listen to them as well. I had a friend that was always in trouble for his window tinting. Scotty. I had those friends. I had friends that was back when, I don't know, I'll be 40 in a couple of days. And back when and it might be like cool to do this again. I don't know. I don't really I don't hear kids listening to music like I did when I was, a teenager, young adult, but there was no chill for my radio stations when it went to CD and then it went to, burning your little stuff onto your little iPod shuffle. And I used it all. And I still listen to my music extra loud. I just have to. My ears are probably going to hate me for that in a couple of years, but we're good now. So, okay. So we'll go over the Banfield episode. She did come out with her own on her Ashley Banfield channel. But it was the same thing that is on here. So I figured we would just go over the News Nation version. But like I said, if you guys don't mind, take a second, hit the like button for me. So basically in this episode, just to give you a little synopsis, they're going to talk about, she's going to talk to Olivia and Steve Gonzalez, like I said, Kaylee's, father and her sister. And they're going to talk about Koberger's sister being a witness, how we went over the documents, remember, on our last Idaho Live, and we saw the defense's witness list and we saw the prosecution's witness list, and like name number like 4 or 5 was Amanda Koberger, Brian Koberger's sister. So we were like, oh, you do say. I'm not sure why she would have been there to testify for the state. Someone said in the chat, and I think this is probably the closest that we'll get, is probably because one of his sisters was talking about at Christmas time him cleaning his car out. So perhaps that's what they wanted to ask her about. Yeah, also, there is a movie coming out for the Idaho 4, Lifetime. I haven't watched a Lifetime movie in 25, 30 years. And I can say that because my mom never watched no Lifetime movie. I would watch one, like, when I was, like, 10 or younger. I never watched them, like, I don't know. I never watched Lifetime. Will I watch the Idaho murder Lifetime movie? Yep, I will, 'cause I wanna see how bad it is. I mean, I just I wanna judge it actually, but, I'm not going to be too judgy, but I just don't I've never, seen a movie like I don't even know how to explain it. I've never seen a movie like this on Lifetime, but I have, I guess, in a way. So it's like it's just hard because we've been listening to, all the court dates. We've been listening or you guys have been listening and I've been reading all the documents. Like I don't know, I feel like if you're online and on YouTube, you might be a little like more upset about a movie being made. And I mean, I understand that too because I mean I don't know why they should just wait for, maybe Brian to be sent into general population and it might get juicier, might get better, might get better ratings. Maybe we just wait on Koberger for a little while, see what he does, see what happens to him. And I hope they make him look like the killer he is. And I hope they don't sensationalize this person. I forget the guy that's playing the movie or playing him in the movie. I don't know if I think he's just been in like another Lifetime movie or a couple of them. I don't think he's like, an actual like big actor or anything. But I did see a picture of him and he does look slightly like Brian Koberger. So I don't know if they show it in the Banfield. We'll have to see. If they don't, I could always pull it up for you guys. They're going to talk about that. Also, they're going to talk about Brian Koberger's stay in prison. And they'll talk about a few more other things too.
Koberger's guilty pleas and his life sentences marked the end of his warped and sadistic story. You're only half right. They ended his real life story, and we can all be thankful for that. But his Lifetime story is just beginning. Lifetime, of course, is the cable TV network that famously gave its ripped from the headlines treatment to the Jodi Arias case. And
like, how did they portray the Jodi Arias case? Like, did they portray her like in the bad light she should be betrayed in? I'm just wondering.
And to the Amanda
We'll look at the
Knox
other movie
case,
sometime.
and to the Menendez brothers case, and now they've turned their attention to the Idaho student murders and the monster who committed them. If you are really plugged in, you will know that the role of the murderer, Brian Koberger, will be played by the actor Miles Mary, who also appeared in the Lifetime epic Girl in the Shed, the kidnapping of Abby Hernandez. And whether you can
I
or
see it in the
cannot
nose.
imagine.
I see it in the guy's nose. I don't know why. I mean, I know that Brian's is more like crooked up here, but I see that they could like what they could do to him to make it look more like Brian. I think this is a bad kind of picture of Brian though too. Look how sunken his eyes are in. Like he had better, if you would make him if you rewind him a little bit, right? 2023, he looked a little bit different. 2023, he looked different than 2024. 2024, he looked a lot different in 2025, in my opinion. But I think they can make this dude look like him. Look at the eyebrows. He's got them going.
The kidnapping of Abby Hernandez. And whether you
Maybe it's the pierced lips too or something.
can or cannot imagine what it must be like for the families of these 4 students to imagine the worst part of their lives will now be a Lifetime movie. It is no doubt surreal when the directors start calling action. So earlier today, I had a conversation about all of this with Steve and Olivia.
Before they get to that interview, I think that they were planning on doing this before. And I don't know why Lifetime backed out because I think Lifetime was going to do a movie before.
Gonzalez, the father and
check.
sister of Kaylee Gonzalez, who was one of the 4 students murdered in that house at 1122 King Road. And I'm going to share that conversation with you in just a moment. But I also want to call your attention to an interesting little piece of information. that just emerged in one of the court documents, a real court document, part of the slow motion release of all those orders and evidence that have been kept under seal for almost 3 years, the gag order. It seems that Brian Kohberger agreed to his plea deal, something that wiped out a public trial, wiped it off the map, less than 1 week after learning that his sister Amanda had been added to the prosecution's witness list. Are those two things unrelated? Or was the thought of his big sister on the witness stand in his murder trial more than even a cold-blooded killer could stomach?
I'm gonna say that I'm gonna go with water there. I'm gonna say that he didn't want his sister being on the stand and him being across from her. Because I mean, he did say, like, when he was arrested in his interview, like, how's my mom and dad? You know, so I do think that he cares about his family. I do think that. At least in some aspects, you know, like a killer would.
Asked Steve and Olivia about that and more. Have a listen to our conversation.
Steve, Olivia, thank you so much for joining me tonight. Let me start with you, Steve. You know, it seems we get a drip and a drop of information every week or two. I'm just wondering how you're processing all of it.
You think it's over and then something comes out, you know. Yeah, you hear about, you know, your phone starts blowing up and all this new information comes out and you just kind of start searching just like everyone else. And it's shocking every time because you think that it's over, but it just keeps on hitting you.
And Olivia, no one knows the shoes you're walking in, right? No one can ever understand what you guys are going through. Everybody processes differently too. Do you find yourself immediately wanting to know what the latest, you know, ungagged information is? Or and you've got 4 children, you're a busy, busy woman.
Yeah, absolutely. I want to get the information as fast as I can. The day that the gag order was lifted, we asked if we could have everything that we could have up front so that we could go through it on our own time, so that we could have time to process that. So yeah, I mean, we're on pins and needles just like everyone else, waiting for that next, you know, drop of information.
What was the reason for them not giving you everything? Did they say they needed to redact it all first? Was there a logical reason?
I think it's mainly the redactions, as well as the prosecutor's office isn't the custodian of many of these documents, right? You know, they're actually owned by Moscow Police Department or the Idaho Police Department. And so the documents that they own, it's my understanding that they're actually held up with the court process, which is going through that very, very lengthy sealing, unsealing, redaction process. That's my understanding.
So as things, you know, begin to drop out, this latest piece of information has sort of come out of nowhere, and it's that a Lifetime movie has been announced. They've hired an actor, and I think the working title is just the Idaho Murders, but it's one of the ripped from the headlines series. Steve,
Very, very original Lifetime. Like, if you're not trying to get that for every penny, you know, like, make sure it has that title.
What are your thoughts? I almost feel like it was inevitable that this was going to happen, but again, nobody walks in your shoes.
It's different, a little bit different because we're used to documentaries, but yeah, this is like a movie. And it's shocking to know that somebody feels the confidence that they can just tell your story about your child. And, you know, Maddie, her best friend, the same people that, you know, you interacted with every day, you know, picking them up from school, taking them to parties and taking them to birthday parties and things. And to have somebody else just tell this story, it doesn't seem real. It seems like somebody's just reaching into your house and stealing your life. And
could they okay, this is going to sound dumb. I should look this up, but I'm going to ask you guys. Could these families, right, could they copyright their kids' likeness? Like, so that they can't use, I don't know how that would work. First Amendment is there. You know what I mean? So I don't know. It's just sad because it does suck that they have no say in anything. I mean, and I mean, it's just, and it's going to come out. I mean, it's going to be out there, just like the books were out there, just like the documentaries were out there, just like, you know, all the things we've seen, you know, come out in this case. But I don't know. Lifetime really just sounds so cheesy.
putting it on the screen.
As new information comes out about the actual case, there's this information about the dramatic version of the case. Lifetime plans to, drop the movie, and they're ripped from the headline series. They've even hired the lead actor. No one walks in your shoes again, and I'm just wondering what it's like for you to hear that news.
Yeah, it's really angering, honestly, from my side. My sisters they're not a headline, they're not a Lifetime movie. And I get incredibly frustrated at the scripted aspect of it, right? We've experienced this in real time, and it's very, very much far from something that is specifically made for an entertainment purpose. I think that's the part that's the hardest for me to get over.
Did they reach out to your family and ask for you to be consultants or part of the process?
Oh, absolutely not. No, we have not been. When you saw the article is when we saw the article. So we didn't have any inside information on that.
I guess the flip side of that is, would you have wanted to be, just to ensure as much accuracy in your sister's story as possible?
I personally don't want to be a part of anything that's strictly for an entertainment purpose. So while I would have appreciated them reaching out for what that stands for, I wouldn't have taken part in something that is a scripted, fictional, dramatic reenactment of our and my sister's real life.
Any chance you would consider legal action? Some people actually sue for life rights if they're not paid for life rights.
Oh,
I think you want to take that, Olivia?
Yeah, I really don't know. Honestly, like, we're not, very sue happy people, and the benefit of that, I don't really know, because it's almost like whack-a-mole. Like you get one down, and it, 4 others pop up, and it's almost like, where's that line drawn? At this point, we've had how many documentaries, we've had how many books, we've had how many articles. So, while we don't.
I remember in the beginning of this case, it was like we weren't even a half a year in. I can't remember exactly the number, but it was something like News Nation did the study or something. It was like 5,000 people right now are streaming about this case, and that can get viewership up to like 300 billion views or something like that. That might be exaggerating, but it was something so crazy. And I was like, wow. Like, that's when I knew this case was going to have like a far, far reach. And it was probably like a few months of this case happening, like of this case starting, because it hasn't happened all the way into conclusion, as far as I know. Anyway, as far as I'm concerned, it hasn't.
Agree with it. I don't know if it's something that we would ever, take legal action over.
Yeah.
Well, Steve, how do you
feel? The
feel?
coin is the true story details. You don't even know them all yet, and they keep dropping, like that video that I don't know why I found it so jaw-dropping when I saw the video of the killer hours after his crime, wandering about his day into Costco, out of Costco, into Albertsons, and I was immediately brought to you, and I wondered how you digested that. Steve, what was it like when you saw that?
Creepy to see that guy, the way he walks and moves. It's just unnatural to my eyes.
That's exactly what I said.
See why a lot of girls could pick up on that vibe very quickly. Yeah, it's disturbing to know that was just afterwards, and you want to analyze every action that he did before and after, and yeah, it's hard to watch that.
Olivia, I think so many people on the outside of your story are so perplexed by it. And that doesn't even come close to what I imagine your family is feeling, that how confused you are by how someone could do this. And maybe that's why we're so voracious for every ounce of new detail that might lend us something. And I just wonder, are we getting any further with every little bit that's dropped, even the video, even being able to see him in action? Are we getting closer to understanding this monster?
I don't think that we're ever going to get closer to why, because I think that the why only makes sense in a psychopathic mind. So I don't want to understand his why personally, because that would make me more like him. But as far as, you know, that human need to, you know, want to satisfy something in yourself that provides comfort, I get it. And personally, I think it's because of the gag order and how restrictive it was and how long lasting it was, that essentially they starved everyone out for information. So now every little piece that comes out is, you know, nitpicked and analyzed and overanalyzed over and over and over, attempting to satisfy that starvation that we've all had for so long.
And yet it's not satisfying, at least not to me.
No, no. You know, you can sit there and look at that Costco video, and I did, and you know, the takeaway is what?
He's
Is
weird.
it more answers? Is it more questions? Is it applicable? Is it not? Yeah, it's absolutely creepy.
He's a psychopath. I'll say it. Anybody that could be getting dressed up, you know, going back to the scene and then coming home and getting dressed and getting, you know, taking pictures like cheesing and all the pictures he was taking from the back to the right, to the left, to the front, and then going to Costco and just Albertsons and just going about his day. Like, I didn't do anything last night. What'd you do? Oh, look, slow night. Me too. Me too.
I mean, I think I took away,
Crazy.
yes, he's heartless. He has no compunction. He's just done this horrifying thing, and life is, let's get a coffee. But I think, you know, I feel like I already knew that. I just maybe need it reinforced because it can't possibly be true. Like, I guess, Steve, that I keep coming back to my original resolution to this can't possibly be true. Please tell me there's something else. And I don't know that I'm getting there either.
Yeah, when you see that person walking around and you know the actions that they've done, you want to tell yourself that you'd be able to identify them, that they wouldn't be able to blend in. They wouldn't look like just a normal guy in the grocery store sitting next to you. So when you see it, it just creeps you out and gives you this, okay, this person isn't behaving in a manner that I would expect anyone who'd just done that. And I think that's a lot of the reasons why we all look at that and say, this just doesn't make sense.
We want to know we can identify the evil that walks among us. And when you look at that, you're absolutely right. I felt for the Costco greeter who brushed up against horror and didn't know it. I felt for the cashier who had no idea who was in front of them. I felt for the people who were just passing right by with bags full of groceries, that they had no idea how close they came to this monster among our flock, you know. Let me ask you about this new report that came out, and Olivia, maybe you can speak to this, that the deal was struck, the plea deal was agreed to by the killer just days after he learned that his sister was going to be on the prosecution's witness list. Did that surprise you? Did it give you insight to anything at all?
No, I don't really believe that causation is correlation there. I think that the plea deal was a long time coming. I think that probably what had more of an impact on the deal being taken was the fact that the alternate perpetrator argument was struck down. They wouldn't be able to take that into the courtroom. So that door closed. They didn't have any more to open up. Time was winding down. I think it had very, very little to do with his sister being on that prosecutor's list.
Steve, what do you think the prosecutors thought they were going to get from her?
There's been a long backstory of things that have been suggested that she, I think that there was people believe that she had seen him with a knife personally. I think that would have been something that would have came up and talking about the murder weapon predating even moving out here would be very damning to their case. And I don't think they were able to ever give a replacement for what was missing. So the time was running out, and even having his family and all those people, that probably didn't help to remind him that he was cooked, and the evidence was there, and he wasn't going to get out to be able to go recover any of those things. His time totally ran out to try to swap one for another.
Steve, I know there are so many people in law enforcement and who are involved, in this case, even in an ancillary way, who have so much love and respect for your family. and care and concern for you all, and you in particular. Has anyone reached out to you to tell you any information about how he's faring now, months after now that he's been locked away? Have you learned anything that, it's hard to say could feel good, but at least might feel like some kind of justice?
Yeah, I have heard that he isn't doing so well in that prison system that he's in the block that he's at. He's very adamant that he has rights in there that need to be respected. And I think he's starting to learn that, you picked the Northwest, you picked Idaho, you picked a place where we don't spend a lot of money on people that we throw the key away on. So, you pick their state, now you got to live it. You don't do the crime if you can't do the time. And he's going to be doing the time. And I've been hearing a lot about how the amount of noise that he's making in there isn't doing him any favors.
And my thanks to Steve and Olivia Gonzalez. And my apologies for the audio quality on that. I don't get it either.
Oh, that was the first time I ever paused it before he could scream at us. I call that a win. Now I just got to go over here. So I don't want to press on it, but, I was going to say something about Banfield, and then now I don't want to go back because he'll yell at us. What was she saying? Oh, about the audio. Yeah, no, I don't know why the audio was so bad on News Nation's behalf. But Steve and Olivia had better audio than her. Now, I do hope that they're doing, as best as they can be doing right now. I know that Steve just had a birthday. I put it on our community wall. A bunch of people told him happy birthday. A bunch of people told him happy birthday on his Facebook. I went over there and I wished him a happy birthday. Yeah, I hope he had a good birthday, and it just sucks. It really sucks. But the podcast that I wanted to go over with you guys tonight is called Sheath of Evidence. So it just talks about it says groundbreaking DNA technology from forensic lab Othram help identify Brian Koberger in the Idaho murders. And then they talk about how it's revolutionizing criminal investigations, solving cold cases. And as we're doing that, I'm going to see if there's anything going on with any of the other cases that we're covering. I know, right, Pete? I did. This is the first time ever. I'm going to have to move it over to here. And I will put visuals up for you guys so that you guys have something to look at. So it's just not this black screen because that's not fun. I'm surprised too. I'm surprised she just didn't somehow use her video because she did the same video on her news or on her Ashley Banfield. But this one came out, or Ashley, on her personal channel, but this one I think came out first. I'm not sure. Right? Do you think he'd be waiting for? Yeah. You get those alerts whenever the driver's 10 stops away or something, right? Like most people do anyway. Not most people, but most of the time you get them anyway. Sometimes you don't get them. I'm wondering if he bought. And I don't think that you would need to, but you might need to sign for it with it being a knife. I'm not sure. I know concert tickets you have to, phones you have to. There's certain things that you do have to sign for. I think Vincent even got a car part one time and we had to. Oh, you don't think, Renee? Oh yeah, she probably wouldn't have, but she would have definitely wondered what was in the box. What's in the box? Okay, so I'm going to play this, and then I'm going to put some visuals up for us to listen so we have something to look at. And I'll see you in a minute, I guess. I always put the visuals up over myself.
Othram is really good at analyzing DNA that previously was thought to be unanalyzable.
If they're not in the criminal database, they're not going to get caught, even though they leave tons of DNA behind. And now we can do that through FIG.
I mean, what can you say? The technology that Othram utilized in this case took it to a whole nother level.
This is the Idaho Massacre. a production of KT Studios and iHeartRadio. Season 3, Episode 9, Sheath of Evidence. I'm Courtney Armstrong, a producer at KT Studios with Stephanie Leidecker, Allison Bankston, and Gabriel Castillo. One of the unsung heroes of the Bryan Kohberger case wasn't a detective, a judge, or even a prosecutor. It was a laboratory. Nestled in the bucolic suburb of Woodlands, Texas, sits Othram, a company that has quickly become a world leader in forensic science. Othram is renowned for pioneering some of the most advanced techniques in forensic investigative genetic genealogy, also known as FIG or sometimes IgG. Initially in this case, the FBI was unable to find a match for the single-source male DNA recovered from the knife sheath found in Madison Mogen's bedroom using CODIS, the Combined DNA Index System, which links DNA profiles to known offenders. At that point, investigators turned to Othram, and it was this decision that blew the entire case wide open. On today's episode, we're spotlighting a podcast we all admire, America's Crime Lab. We're joined by its host, journalist Aylin Lance Lesser, to learn more about the groundbreaking work her show is covering. Aylin has the inside scoop on how Othram's cutting-edge methods changed the game, and how this lab helped identify the man who brutally murdered Madison Mogen, Kaylee Gonsalves, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin. Aylin's joined by KT Studios producer Allison Bankston.
America's Crime Lab focuses on the intimate stories of victims and their families from some of the most heinous crimes in America, and crimes that are being solved by a specific lab that exists just outside of Houston called Othram that's using new DNA technology. And I think basically Othram, the lab, wanted to get this information out there because the more people know about it, the more that detectives will know, hey, we can use this technology in this case where we simply can't figure out who left their DNA at a crime scene. And so it almost is a matter of spreading the word while also telling these really riveting stories.
That's incredible. And I agree. I think it's great to get the word out on this amazing technology and to raise awareness about what it is and, how effective it really can be. I understand it was started by Kristen and David Middleman, two geniuses in their own right. And, you work closely with them. Can you tell me a little bit about who these two are?
Kristen and David Middleman, they have been working in genetics for years. They actually met in grad school and started working together on projects. And they're actually also married and have a family, and they kind of spend all their time together, and they're really devoted to this work. And essentially, they had this background in genetics. I think David first started studying the Genome Project and then went on from there. And they just felt that there was a hole that needed to be filled, that they had the ability to make this technology and not just study genetics, but actually use their knowledge of genetics to help people and families who are victims of horrible crimes. They're passionate about the fact that even there are so many unidentified human remains out there, people who have passed away, and to their families, it's like they've disappeared. They don't know where they are, but the government hasn't even identified who they are, which is the first step in any investigation if it's a murder or something. And so basically they've made this their life's work, and they literally are working all the time. Like, I think I work hard. No, they work hard. They live and breathe their science and just doing everything they can to make sure their science is at the most rigorous level, but then also they're trying to get the word out there and they're trying to help as many people as they can.
Othram specializes in forensic investigative genetic genealogy, a cutting-edge science that uses public genealogy databases to connect unknown DNA to profiles already uploaded by everyday people. To help us break down what FIG is and how Othram's approach differs from the traditional DNA testing done in most law enforcement labs, we brought in renowned expert Dr. Greg Hamikian. Dr. Hamikian is the founder of the Idaho Innocence Project and a former professor at Boise State University. He travels all over the world offering his forensic insight on complex criminal cases. He's joined by KT Studios producer Allison Bankston.
Investigative genetic genealogy is really a giant leap forward using some tools that have been around for a while. So the first tool, and I think the kind of novel thing that was brought into forensics, was the traditional genealogist, folks who would work out of libraries and newspapers and court documents trying to construct family trees. And that was done before DNA was done and was used in the courts principally to show who's related to who for the purposes of inheritance. Then, with the advent of molecular biology and DNA sequencing in particular, we were able to combine two fields. My field, which is sequencing DNA and reading sequences or reading lengths of DNA, and these folks working newspapers and documents and all these great records from hundreds of years back. So what we're looking for is a long piece of DNA. We want to find the longest piece of DNA we can that the person of interest has in common with other people in the database. So if the person of interest is actually a piece of evidence from a crime scene, the police will load that up into a database and treat it as if it is a person looking for their true parents, an orphan looking for their true parents.
And the DNA needs to be in a certain format, right? Most law enforcement agencies use the STR profile, which stands for short, tandem, repeat. And these types of profiles can be read through CODIS, whereas labs like Othram, they have the capability to convert these DNA samples into SNP profiles, which stands for single nuclear polymorphism profiles. And these types of SNP profiles can be analyzed into genetic databases. Can you tell us a little bit about the differences between what most law enforcement crime labs use, which is STR, and SNP profiles, which are needed for forensic investigative genetic genealogy?
The chemistry is different, the machines are different, the software is different, and I think most importantly, the mathematics is different. So in the case of the standard STRs, we're looking at the length of a piece of DNA, and we're only going to look at about 23 of those lengths, and it identifies a person. They allow us to differentiate from one person to another.
Right. They can tell us if the person is male or female, and if it matches someone in CODIS, then great, there's your answer. But without a match, it's unfortunately not really going to get you anywhere.
In the case of the SNPs, we're looking at hundreds of thousands of areas in someone's genome. There are 3 billion bases, so there's a lot of places you can choose. And we're reading the actual sequences, the single nucleotide bases at particular areas. So it's a very much more information-rich, detailed profile when you do a SNP. And people are putting their DNA in these databases.
Right, and willingly, in an effort to find more about their heritage. Sites like My Family Tree, GEDmatch, MyHeritage, the list goes on for the types of sites these people are uploading to.
And if we find a relative of someone who matches the SNP profile, police can investigate that family and then find the perpetrator in this case. It's just a wonderful tool because when you have a great DNA fingerprint, and if they're not in the criminal database, they're not going to get caught even though they leave tons of DNA behind. And now we can do that through FIG, forensic investigative genealogies, because not those criminals, but their nice relatives have contributed DNA to public databases. And so, yeah, it's very exciting. It opens up a whole new area.
Here's journalist, American Crime Lab host, and Othram insider, Aylin Lance Lesser.
One other really exciting piece of this is also the technology at Othram is really good at analyzing DNA that previously was thought to be unanalyzable. But what's cool is, at a crime scene, it's not like a clean swab of a mouth the way you might get when you're sending in your DNA. It's often contaminated. It's degraded. It's been sitting out in the snow, in the rain. Animals have interacted with it. Maybe there's plant DNA mixed up with the DNA. Maybe the victim's DNA is mixed up with the DNA. And so quite often you're getting a really not so good sample to analyze in a lot of cold cases. And so this technology can handle that more degraded DNA than other technology has been able to do previously.
That's amazing. Yeah, I've definitely heard that they're major cold case solving pioneers, which is just so impressive. What are some examples of cases that really defy the odds? I think before you had told me a little bit about the Carla Walker case being particularly impressive. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
The Carla Walker case happened years ago in 1974. And Carla Walker was a 17-year-old girl. She was a high school cheerleader, very like spunky, energetic. And the night of her Valentine's Day dance, she disappeared. She went to the dance with her boyfriend, Rodney. And later that night, Rodney would later say that they were in a bowling alley parking lot after the dance doing, what teenagers do, kind of sitting in their car, kissing a little bit. Suddenly the door opened and they're at gunpoint with either one or two men. And Rodney, he had just been beaten across the face. But when he woke up, Carla was gone. And 3 days later, they found her body in a cattle culvert just outside of the Fort Worth area. Anyway, through all this, they just don't get enough evidence and the case goes cold for years and years and years. I do think it's a case that stayed alive in that community. Like, people always wondered what happened to Carla. After years and years, eventually, of course, DNA technology comes on the scene, and they do luckily have some DNA preserved on Carla's clothing. And eventually Othram hears about the case, David and Kristen, and they get involved and they say, we think we can help solve this case. They did find just a little bit more DNA on her dress. It was just, I think it was 4 nanograms, which is like the tiniest amount, like just a matter of a handful of cells. It was also DNA mixed with other DNA. So again, it's also degraded. At this point, it's 46 years later. So this DNA has also just been like sitting around, gradually degrading for all those years. But Othram says, we're confident we can get a result. So they do the testing and they get a result, and they have a name, Glenn Samuel McCurley Jr. And so police go and find him. They ask for DNA swab, which he eventually does, and they're able to check if he, in fact, is the person who left this DNA, this semen on Carla's dress. And it is a match. And eventually, Glenn Samuel McCurley Jr. confessed.
That is seriously so impressive. 46 years later, very degraded DNA, only 4 nanograms of it. Othram is truly changing the world here.
Let's stop here for a break. We'll be back in a moment. When the Idaho State Police Lab couldn't get a hit from CODIS on the DNA found on the knife sheath, investigators turned to David and Kristen Middleman at Othram to see if they could process the sample using forensic investigative genetic genealogy. Renowned for solving cold cases, this marked one of the very first active cases Othram had been approached about. Here's journalist Aylin Lance Lesser explaining how Othram handled this crucial sample.
I think when they first were asked to come on, they were actually a little bit nervous just because of how much attention was focused on it and because they typically have done kind of these older cold cases. But I think Kristen said when she thought about, we just have a duty to try to help. I mean, David and Kristen had a child at the time who was a sophomore in college, and they were like, what if something like this happened to our child? Like, we would absolutely want our technology to be used. So despite some kind of nerves around that, they jumped right in and they were able to get DNA from that sheath right at the snap. Because, when you snap something, you like really have to pull at it. Because of that, there was actually quite a bit of DNA left behind. It was just like touch DNA. It was a very clean sample, which was comforting in that it wasn't mixed with other DNA and there was like a lot of it. So they run the test and it takes a little while to complete the tests, but initially the information they get from some kind of the preliminary testing is some basic kind of geographic information about the perpetrator. They find that it's someone likely of European heritage, of specifically Italian heritage, and that he probably is connected to kind of a multi-generational family that lives in Pennsylvania, actually. So they've got that kind of information going, which also is connected to the fact that the white Hyundai Elantra that's seen driving around the crime scene at around the time of the murders doesn't have a front license plate, which is common in Pennsylvania cars.
And that's such an important clue, just even being able to whittle down the Elantras. You know, it was such a popular car, it still is. I think at some point I saw it was reported there were approximately 22,000 white Hyundai Elantras in the area. So if you can eliminate the vast majority of them and only focus on ones with no front license plate, that's extremely helpful.
That's that other connection there again to other evidence. Anyway, eventually, once the testing is done, they eventually have a name, and it's Bryan Kohberger. And they call up the police and give them the name. And at first, the police were so shocked, they were almost thinking it was almost a joke because they had kept saying, give us a name, that they almost thought it was like so ridiculous to get one specific name. Because again, I feel like a lot of investigators are used to CODIS, where like if you don't get a match there, you're not going to get a name. So then they really let it absorb and started their investigation. And from there, we're able, to track down Bryan Kohberger and continue it from there.
And forensic investigative genetic genealogy is just a lead generator. It is a means to a lead. It does not directly implicate you, which is something the prosecution was really trying to hone in on last winter when the defense was trying to get the DNA evidence thrown out. They were saying it violated privacy laws, that it wasn't effective. And in theory, I guess it's kind of scary to think that if you have a relative that uploads their DNA to a heritage site, and let's say your DNA is at a crime scene, all of a sudden your relative has implicated you in a crime. And, that is kind of a scary thing to think about.
I do think it's interesting how that, I think, is the first thought a lot of people have, is it's kind of scary, like almost fearing like, will I be caught for something? But I think it's like a comforting reminder to know like that you're not committing these crimes. You know what I mean? Like I almost want to say that to listeners sometimes, because it's kind of like this new technology. It feels kind of scary, like anyone can be identified, but it's kind of like any other piece of evidence. If someone leaves a piece of evidence at a crime scene and they've like murdered someone, yeah, I would hope that they can use the evidence that's there to find out who did it and to stop them from continuing. So it's funny how we're so immediately protective of our own DNA, which I think is totally valid and correct. But I think the way it's being used is still fairly private, and we're finding killers here.
100%. And for a fig match to even matter, you have to have some other implicating evidence to even get a warrant. In the Kohberger case, he had the white Hyundai Elantra. He matched the physical description of the perpetrator that Dylan Mortensen described seen in the night of the murders. There's just a lot of different things that are piling up against him. And on top of having other evidence that links you to the crime, investigators also have to confirm a fig match with traditional STR DNA testing. STR is the old gold standard, tried and true for matches, whereas forensic investigative genetic genealogy, it's newer.
Yeah, well, first, Bryan Kohberger had gone to his family's home in Pennsylvania, so they got some DNA from the garbage, which they had also seen Bryan Kohberger using gloves to take out garbage, which to me suggests he was being very careful about DNA. He had actually studied criminology. He really knew what he was doing. He was really covering his tracks, but they were able to test DNA, and it was his father's DNA because he was at the family's house. But then from there, they were able to say it's this close of a match. Let's get a warrant to get Bryan's DNA. And they were able to then match it up using the traditional STR testing.
Right, which directly matched him to the DNA in the knife sheath. Othram's work is so impressive here because they truly helped to find Bryan Kohberger quickly. He wasn't in CODIS, so imagine if this sample from the knife sheath didn't get sent in for forensic investigative genetic genealogy. I think about that often. I'm glad that the science is improving so much that we can catch people faster and get them off the street.
Many have wondered what would have happened in the Bryan Kohberger case if the single-source male DNA found on the knife sheath was never identified. Especially since Kohberger wasn't in the CODIS system. We asked legal analyst and former homicide prosecutor Jarrett Ferrantino for his thoughts on how this case could have played out without Othram's assistance. He's joined by KT Studios producer Allison Bankston.
I mean, what can you say? The technology that Othram utilized, the IgG technology in this case, took it to a whole nother level. We don't know that Brian Koberger would have ever been ultimately charged, or that investigators would have gotten sufficient probable cause to discover all of the evidence that eventually was found against him. We do know that IgG technology expedited identifying Brian Koberger as the likely killer here. It expedited the probable cause determinations and took him into custody before he can hurt someone else. And it's him, 1 in quintillion chance. This guy with his DNA is also driving a white Hyundai Elantra. His cell phone's hitting on those towers. He matches the physical description. All of those things just came to pass tremendously as the case was put together. If you don't have the DNA, can you get there? Remember, they weren't just challenging the DNA. They were saying, number one, it was touch DNA. There's an issue with that. But really, it was IgG DNA. It was a process employed. It's a novel process. It's not enough to get to probable cause. And if it isn't, what do you got? You have a largely circumstantial case against Brian Koberger.
Without the DNA, is there more of a chance for reasonable doubt? Like, let's say you're on the jury and you're going through trial. I feel like it probably would have been less of a slam dunk, but how much less of a slam dunk could have it been if the DNA wasn't here?
If it all got in front of a jury, your job at that point is to explain the circumstance away. And it's much easier if there's not a 1 in quintillion chance it's not your guy. You know, you could say, hey, a lot of phones were in that tower, hundreds of phones, if not thousands over those days. And a lot of people drive a white Hyundai Elantra. You don't have DNA. Brian never confessed. There's no blood in his car. I've prosecuted a lot of solely circumstantial cases. I've secured convictions on those cases. They're tougher, don't get me wrong, but I think you could have still prosecuted Brian Koberger for this crime, but it would have been a very different process.
Yeah, I feel like as a juror, and this is solely my opinion, I am definitely not an expert, but those points about the Elantra being such a popular car, that his cell phone was in the area, that he matches the description, for me, with the right experts up on the stand, all of that could have pretty easily been explained away. I feel like it's possible that without the DNA evidence, he would have gotten off, or maybe never even gotten caught.
And ultimately, remember, it was the DNA, that decision, the decision that it was coming in, that led to the plea. So you cannot overstate the significance of Othram's findings in this case. There's no doubt about it.
This was Othram's first live case, active case where they used forensic investigative genealogy. Do you think courtrooms will start seeing more of this since, there was success in the Koberger case?
Absolutely. So when you have a case of this magnitude covered worldwide, and a technology stands the rigors of the challenges that it was met with in Idaho by Koberger's defense team, it is a green light to prosecutors across the country. The law is based on other cases and the ability to argue it. Once that first impression is made and the decision is made, that case will be utilized across the country, maybe the world, to argue IgG technology is sound and it stands the tests that are applied in courtrooms. So yes, I think it will have a very, very big impact on convictions, solving investigations. But at the same time, I think it's worth noting this type of technology has also led to the solving of cold cases. It's also led to the exoneration of people that have been wrongfully convicted. So it is a powerful tool to getting to the truth, whatever that is.
Let's stop here for a break. We'll be back in a moment. Othram Laboratories in the Woodlands, Texas is revolutionizing how DNA evidence is used in courtrooms. What once began as a tool for genealogists tracing family heritage is now helping law enforcement identify criminals with no prior records, like never before. Without Othram, justice for Madison Mogen, Kaylee Gonsalves, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin may have never come. It's a groundbreaking company that we're proud to feature. Joining us once again is journalist, Othram insider, and host of America's Crime Lab, Aylin Lance Lesser, along with KT Studios producer, Allison Bankston.
What's kind of cool to think about, but someone like Bryan Kohberger, who had, again, studied criminology, had even surveyed criminals about how they committed their crimes, presumably to get information for how to commit a crime successfully. For him, at least that's where my mind goes, that why he was doing that. And to think he was so careful. I mean, he really didn't leave other evidence at the crime scene. It really was this knife sheath. And to think he was so careful and knowledgeable, and yet he still did leave DNA. I almost feel like it's a PSA to anyone considering committing a violent crime. Like, in today's world, you're not going to get away with it.
No, you're not even if you don't have a criminal record.
And that's a comforting thing, a good message for people to know, that even just having society know that, it might reduce the amount of crimes like this.
Throughout working on this podcast with Othram, you kind of have a really cool in here with this most amazing company. What have you personally learned working so closely with them and establishing this relationship with them?
I've just learned so much more about the technology. And also, if people listen to our podcast, America's Crime Lab, they will learn a lot more too, but also in an engaging way, learning about these cases and these stories and these people, and also being victim-centered in that we talk to a lot of family members and relatives, close friends. And I think it's useful as I consume true crime media or, learn about cases in my environment to understand some of this technology and how it can be used. And I think I've just been so struck by their process. And it's kind of almost like given me hope in science. And I personally have been inspired by also their devotion to the work and how so many people at Othram do have some kind of personal connection. Maybe they had a family member who experienced a violent crime or just have some kind of personal stake in these crimes. So I also think Othram is just full of people who are very committed to this mission, really. I feel like our podcast focuses on so many dark things, as I'm sure you're used to as well. But I think sometimes in that darkness, you see these stories of human resilience, of people working for cases of people they don't even know and being so determined. And I think that is also very uplifting to me on a personal level working on this show.
What else can we expect from America's Crime Lab in the future? What can we look forward to as you guys continue to make your podcast?
Well, we're still coming out with episodes, so they're coming out every week, but we're just excited to be getting these stories out there and to be able to have this unique relationship with Othram where we're really getting the insider view of like, how does the lab work? How do they work these cases? And basically it's a look into Othram in a way that I think hasn't really happened before. And it's really exciting stuff.
You can find Aylin's podcast, American Crime Lab, on the iHeartRadio app.
I'm like, oh, that was the end of that. Sorry. Let me get all this stuff down and then everything blown up. Well, just me, actually. Just me. Let me get the banner down though. There we go. There we go. Okay. Well, I think that's all that I have for you guys for tonight. I did look up Kata Scott's case. There wasn't anything new other than, what we went over at the beginning of the live. They arrested somebody for kidnapping. They're still working her case like as if she's alive because they don't know. I did forget to tell you guys this part. So they found, how they were searching that wooded area, it's not arbitrarium. You know what it's called. The word I can't pronounce. Well, they searched that and they came out with nothing. Someone actually commented and said she knew one of the searchers that were on that, one of the cadets. And she told me that they didn't find anything yesterday or 2 days ago, maybe. So it was kind of like, it reaffirmed that. But they did find, so there's a middle school, I think, but it's like an old middle school and it's like very, very old. Like it's, there's no kids in there anymore. They found a cell phone cover that was red or pink in color. I couldn't really tell. And they found without a cell phone in it. And then they found one of her debit cards. So that doesn't look good. That doesn't, a girl without her debit card, we always know where our debit card is. I do anyway. It's in my wallet. Better be there. I'm just kidding. It is there. But I wanted to tell you guys that. Which door? Oh, might have been. It might have been. I was just going back up in the chat. But okay. Anyways, I don't know. What was I going to say? I was going to say something else. But okay, so they found the car. So they found his car. Okay, so that's the next thing. They found his car. They towed it back to the they're towing it to the crime lab right now. We're back, I'm assuming the crime lab. They want to go and search inside of it, but the windows are all tinted to like the darkest tint. And they said that they're going to do that back at the crime lab, which I understand that they should do that at the crime lab, because for the fact that there's cameras everywhere right there where they're at, there's reporters and stuff. And I think that if they did find something, the reporters would know, because there'd be more officers coming in and know, you know what I mean? And like nothing going out. So I think that they just, decided to take that as a sign to like, just take the car back. But if I do see anything, I'll let you guys know. Nothing for David's case really either. Just small things here and there, like the Los Angeles District Attorney. He says that this Celeste Rivas case is still in LAPD's hands. I don't know. The landlord hired a private investigator. I don't think it was Steve Fisher, because I went to his Twitter and I was like, was it you, Steve? And he liked it, but he didn't like message me or anything. So I don't think it was him. And then he hired a private investigator because he wants to know what happened inside of his house, or if anything happened inside of his house, which I think that's pretty smart to do in a way. But yeah, that's all I think I have for you. Do you want to hear something that crazy that happened to me today before I jump off here? This is actually crazy. This was actually downright crazy. My eye surgeon, remember I told you prayers, keep them prayers coming. Keep them prayers coming. We talked about a surgery. He measured my eyes with this little machine thing, this little thingy he has. It'll measure like your, I guess if you're like your symmetry or whatever, I don't know. He said, as long as I keep myself looking up like I'm supposed to, I guess like this, I don't know, normal, I guess. My eyes are fine. But he said that when I look down, that's when I see the imperfections. But he said that everything is like measuring out fine. And then I told him about this bone here. I said, I don't know if this is bone or what. Like I said, y'all did this. What is it? And so he was like touching my face, because they put like, what they did was they put fat in there at one point to try to make it bigger, because I was like sinking in at one point there. It is a bone, but not just a bone. He starts like doing this. I'm going to do it on like this side because I don't want to touch it. But he starts like doing this, like touching my socket right there. And he's like, Tanya, you have fractures in here. I said, what fractures? I said, you mean like broken bones? He's like, yeah. I said, how? How do I have broken bones up in my face and I didn't even know it? Now I know it because he touched it. Now I'm like, I can feel it. Like I can feel it when I talk a little bit. But yeah, so now I have to go get a little, a facial x-ray. I haven't had one of those in a long time, so I need one. They need to look at what they did up there. So hopefully that, I have to go to like an Ohio Health place to do that. And I don't think there's one near me. But I'm going to look, see if there's one in the greater area around me. If not, I'll go back up to Columbus. That's fine. Yeah, Ladybug. And like every time I talk tonight, I could feel it. So I'm sorry if I was a little crabby earlier. It's probably my face. It's probably just my face. But I'm numb. So like right here, that son of a bitch. That's why I don't feel it. I need to call him tomorrow because like where he was touching, I could feel it a little bit, but right here, like all through there, I can't feel that. Like I don't have feeling in my face right there. So maybe that's where it's, I don't know. The bones are broken. He just said, he's like, I want you to do a facial x-ray and then come see me within a week. And I was like, That's like fast. Like, I mean, he doesn't usually like to see me for a while. So he said, we'll see where we're at then. But if you're listening tonight, thank you for the bone assessment. He says, "Well, check out my page." Because you know me, I'm gonna have all the doctors watching my YouTube. I'm like, that's the way to give back to me. Since I gave you this mess to work with. It feels like it. It feels bad. It kind of does. And I think it's because he touched it. And so like he just kind of like when he touched it, it just irritated a little bit. And I'm like, I could feel that. I was ready to get home today. But I just want to say, I actually went to all my appointments. And I went to physical therapy this week too again. Yeah, I'm gonna pat myself on the back because I don't do that. Really? Psycho stitched me too. I mean, I broke my face, like my litter face, like from my orbital socket down through my chin through this side was all smashed in, smashed in. And I do hit my head sometimes. I was gonna say a lot, and I want to say more than most because I'm blind on that side. But I've never hit my face. I would hurt so bad if I hit my face. Like I would feel that. I'm wondering, could it be from sleeping on it? Am I sleeping on my face instead of like on my side? It's been a long day, yeah. But then well, it wasn't too bad until yesterday. I did Pilates at 8:00 in the morning. And then I went into physical therapy today. And I told him, I said, my thighs are killing me. And he's like, don't worry. He's like, we'll work all around like everything. And he did that. That physical therapist is good. I'm going to go back again. And I'm telling you, I got a little pamphlet for the gym that is like hooked on, and they have like a water slide and everything. If you're not a resident, it's $20. I think $20 to go to a water park, like an adult water park. Count me in all day long. A DEXA scan, probably, but I don't know if it's a scan to do with your face, maybe. So yeah, I would say. But I'm not good at. Yeah, I'm not sure what that is though. Probably have had one though. Had them all. I haven't had a facial X-ray though, like since my accident. Like literally, like I don't think I can remember one even after my surgeries. So I'm gonna say okay. Really, Tony? Oh, thanks, Lee. I appreciate that. I'm just like, well, who's gonna live this life but me? Me. You gotta be strong. Gotta be strong mentally and physically, I guess. Physically, I'm getting there. Mentally, I'll never be there. Just kidding. Just kidding. I'm pretty much there, I think now, this many years. But yeah, so I'm just glad that he said everything we're good there, but we just gotta fix the bones. I don't know if I could have done that. Like of all the places to not get hurt. I did it. I did it. I don't know how. But thank you guys for being here tonight. I appreciate it. The opposite side of New York City. Thanks, Diane. I appreciate that. Well, I tried to learn it wasn't for me. That job wasn't for you. And if something does, yeah, and if something like you just know a job's not good for you, it's not best to stay. I think that's what it is, ladybugs. I'd be sleeping on that side every night. And I know that I dig myself into my sleep. I put my weight into my sleep. I got to start to learn how to cool off and chill. But that's what I'm learning to do right now with physical therapy and everything. I'm learning to know my body more. So it's really, really hard. When I usually do stuff fast, like exercises and stuff fast, so I can get them all done. And now everyone's telling me to slow down, and I'm like, these are getting harder now. But thank you guys for being here. I appreciate it so much. If you guys don't mind, hitting the like on the way out, that'd be great. Oh, I better not have no osteoporosis. But I'll have to ask him about that. I drink a lot of milk. I mean, I know you can still get it though. I'll ask him. Yeah, I'll ask him. I'll be like, just test me for whatever. Because if this comes back and it's, I mean, because it could be just those, I think it's just those little bones right there. And I think that I don't know. He said something like a Y or an L, or I don't know what he was. I was just like, I should have asked more questions. You know, when you're like, huh. I don't know. You're just like, what? What did you say? Okay, I'm ready to go. It was one of those. So, but thank you guys for being here. Like I said, I'll see you guys all tomorrow. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, all the buttons of all the things, you know. And like I said, I'll see you guys all tomorrow night. I'll be on. I'm going to come on, I think, during the day to do the rest of the Ellen Greenberg read through, because we started that on last night. We're reading through the notes of the medical examiner that redid, you know, went through all of the testing, and they came back with the same, you know, conclusion of suicide. We want to know exactly why, and we want to know what they said and how the investigation went. So that's what we've been going over. We'll finish it tomorrow. It's only like 12 more pages left. So I will see you guys all then. Have a wonderful evening. Bye, guys.
Just like the street lights lit this town, like a fire in a blaze, gotta burn it down. Can't be afraid to leave this out. We got this far, don't know how. I see danger in eyes. They know we'll burn down the night. Coming just like the sunrise. You know that we gonna let it rain. Tonight, we gonna let it rain. Tonight, we gonna let it rain. Just like the sunrise, we gonna let it just like a spark that's breaking out. Can't make a stop, can't turn back now. We know that there's no room for doubt. No, we can't turn back now.